Hello and welcome back to Just Between Us, the podcast for the girls who dare to dream big and live fully. I'm your host, Brie.
And I'm your host, Siobhan. Thank you so much for being here again today. As you know, it's literally our favorite time of the week. If it is also your favorite time of the week, which we really hope that it is, please help support us by giving us a like, a share with anyone that you think would resonate with this episode or just with our podcast in general. Comment below what your thoughts are on this podcast too. And I'm honestly so excited for this episode because we have our second ever guest on today. And I'm actually specifically really, really excited for this conversation because it's a topic that, well, for me, it's a topic that, hope you don't mind me saying this, James, but my partner is an undiagnosed ADHDer, but very much has ADHD. So I think having conversations about ADHD, which is what we're going to talk about today, and the health and fitness industry and being a woman with ADHD as well, because I know that it presents different symptoms sometimes in women that it does with men too. And I think this is going to be such a helpful conversation for people who do want to improve their health and fitness, work on building something, a business, their career, and also manage those ADHD symptoms. So we have the lovely Hannah on today. She goes by fohxibodi on all of her socials. She is literally just a power woman, honestly. I know that you have gone through some difficult situations in your life too, having gone through multiple surgeries, having to navigate ADHD, and you have such a successful health and fitness online business as well. So, hi, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor. Can't wait to yap.
How did you originally get into health and fitness, wanting to start your own business?
It all started for me at school. I've always loved health and fitness, sports. I was a big sport fanatic, still am. So I was the girl that was in all the sports team at schools, would try out for every single race in the athletics carnival, swimming carnival. And up until the boys hit puberty, I was like, I was up there. I was on par with the boys, and then they hit puberty and they got way too strong and too fast. Health and fitness has been a massive part of my life, and especially I did dancing for 10 plus years, and dancing was very full on. It was very competitive. I traveled to worlds in America and competed for Australia. So that kind of level of training and fitness and health, I had to be on my game. And I look back at 16-year-old Hannah and I'm like, she was a weapon. I don't know how she did that. But so it kind of stemmed from there. I started to realize how, as I got older, so many of my female friends were struggling with their body image and were starting to get really insecure. And I was thinking, oh, that's so weird. That doesn't happen to me. And it kind of went a bit of a light switch where I was like, oh, I am quite rare to not have all these doubts and to be focusing on what I'm eating and knowing what to do in fitness because I've been brought up like that. And I think when I started to see that it was affecting my friends' confidence in themselves and the way they were talking about themselves, I was like, I'll teach you what I know and maybe you'll feel better because I feel good. Mind you, I was like 15. So I was like, I don't know, but you just come on and we'll just do it. So I brought my best friend to the gym of a morning before we went to school. I'll take some girls to the gym at school during lunchtime and just teach them what I knew nothing, by the way, but I knew enough to at least do the very basics. And from there, I loved it. I loved it. And they started to feel really good about themselves. I was educating them on food, whether I was qualified to, don't know. But I was very much just like, this is kind of how it works. And if we move more, we feel a little bit better. And after I started seeing that shift with how powerful nutrition and fitness could be with people's, and especially like women's self-esteem and their confidence, I was hooked. I was hooked. I was like, if I like seeing my best friend go from I'm ugly, I'm not good enough, I don't want to take any photos at parties to trying on new outfits and wanting to get a photo with everyone and feeling really good about herself. I was like, oh, this is me. Like I'm just going to be everyone's cheerleader and hype girl. So that's kind of how it started from there.
I wish I had you when I was fucking 15, as I think so many girls wish. Oh my God. You're like the dream best friend. Have to admit, I have not heard someone's story where it has been in that kind of sense. It's always kind of come from a negative mindset that has caused them to change. But I think that is so freaking beautiful. That is amazing. When did it flip into something you were like, you know what, I want to create this a bit into a business?
Knew as soon as I started doing that this is what I wanted to do. There was no like questions, ifs, or buts. And me being a very spontaneous person, I loved the idea of owning my own business, which I've now figured out it's because I don't like listening to anyone and I can't pay attention. School, going to year 11 and 12, I started off doing an ATAR. And then I dropped because I was like, I know that I'm not going to go to university. I'm going to do my PT, nutrition course, everything at TAFE, and I'm going to go down the business road. So my mum and dad said, you have to finish school. And I was like, fine. So finished year 11 and 12, got my HSC. Pretty much as soon as I got that, I started posting videos online. And mind you, they're horrific. I hadn't even started training anyone. I just started filming my workouts. And I did a video the other day of me reacting to one of my really old videos, and it was so funny. But pretty much as soon as out of school, I started to connect with other people that ran their own business, not necessarily in fitness. Back then, I was 18. So Instagram had kind of just started to take off. There was a few Instagram coaches, but really at the time it was Kayla at Sinus, like Steph Claire Smith. They were like almost it. And so for me, I loved the idea of traveling and doing this. So even before it was a really, really popular thing, in my mind, I was like, I want to be an online coach. One, so I can have the freedom, but two, so I can reach way more people than I ever could at a gym. And so I just started posting online. I went to TAFE, I did my certificates, and I hustled. I hustled to get a following. I hustled to learn as much as I could. I started training people in their houses, drive to their house with all my equipment. I would charge them $10 an hour and I would train them out of their house until I got enough experience. So this was during my study, and I said to them, I'm not qualified, but I want experience. I'll charge you like $10 an hour and I'll come to your house. And so I did that through my whole studying, which made me so much more confident in what I was able to do. So then as soon as I got that certificate, I transformed my gym, my poor parents, to a home gym, like the garage into a home gym. And I started training people out of there. And then it's just gone from there.
I love that. I think you made so many good points during that whole thing, and I was trying to like remember all of the points that you made.
So you need to say to me, you need to pause.
No, absolutely not. You keep going. You made so many good points that I was like, yeah, you're so right. You made so many points that I feel like happen to so many of us who start our own businesses and kind of go through that same journey. I also thought that it was funny. We did a podcast episode a couple of weeks ago about the behind the scenes of having a business and what you just don't really see online, or the misconceptions that people have. And one of the things that we both agreed on was that we wouldn't change it for the entire world because we're both very bad at listening to other people or being told what to do. So we've always known that we needed to have our own business because otherwise we're just going to like get on everyone's nerves. Oh my God, they are the worst people to employ.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I had, because when I first started, I definitely wasn't I was doing $10 an hour PT. So I wasn't making near enough money to any degree. So I was working 3 jobs at one stage. I worked at Anytime Fitness just as a receptionist from 4 a.m. till 9 a.m. And then I would work as a pool lifeguard from like 10 till 3. And then I'd have people come over to my house and do the PTs from 4 till 8 p.m. I did that for God knows how long. And, people on the outside would just be, oh, like, Hannah's doing really well. I was dying. I was actually dying. Everything that I was earning was going straight into my business. And I think that to me is such a milestone, and it just really reflects business in itself because you just have no idea what's happening. Everything I was earning was going straight towards my business. And then eventually I could go full time and everyone's like, oh, that was so easy. And I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, you're like, you literally have no idea what I've been doing to get to this point. Like, shut up.
I think it's crazy because so many people would listen to that and be like, "Oh my God, that is insane. Why would you ever do that?" But it's like, that is literally what it takes and why you are where you are now, because you
Yeah.
were willing to do whatever it took. And you had this, I like to say, a delulu brain that whatever you do, you'll make it work. And you backed yourself so hard. And look at you now. And you're so right. People get this perception that I can just post a few videos on social media and I'll blow up. But that is so far from the truth. You busted your ass, and from such a young age too. And I think that's why it's also so important to find a passion where you actually enjoy what you do, because if you don't, those hard moments where you are working 3 jobs where you're getting paid nothing is something where most people would quit. It's too hard, nothing's changing, like what's the point? But I absolutely have to commend you on the fact that not a lot of people will do this or work for free these days, but the fact that I guess it's more just petrol money to drive to someone's house and do that to gain experience. So many people just want to get paid for the bare minimum these days. And I think one of the most valuable things is actually gaining experience, gaining knowledge to then be like, hey, I back myself enough to actually start charging people. But you did that on top of everything that you were doing. So I love that you shared that story, because the reality of growing a business, the reality of what it takes to be successful, isn't just like, oh, one day she popped up on social media and now she's fucking thriving. You worked your butt off, and that is why you are where you are today. So that is an inspiration, but it also shares with people that, that's truly what it takes. Like, nothing in this world gets handed to you on a silver platter. And can I ask, how have you gone managing ADHD with all of this? I want to know the pros and the cons, because I feel like the fact that you do have ADHD and you want to go, go, go all the time also could potentially benefit you, but there's also obviously the caveat to that as well.
Yes, it is tricky. I feel like as a woman, and I know from now being diagnosed and my experience that I'm definitely not alone, we get diagnosed so late. So even through school, it was she's really chatty, she's distracted, all these things that came up. She can't focus. It was just like Henna being Henna off with the fairies. Literally, did I know that no wonder I hated school. Couldn't sit still for the life of me. Could barely retain information. I've just learnt so much about my past self and how that has affected me. And having ADHD and running a business is the most challenging thing I have ever done. And it has completely had to rewire how I do things. ADHD definitely gives me so many strengths, but it also means that I have to build my life completely differently. And the world and business is not equipped for people with ADHD. So, really building what I had, because I only got diagnosed 2 years ago. So a lot of me looks back at those times where I was working really hard and I was doing this and I was doing this. And there was always a part of me that was like, this is harder than it needs to be. It was almost like it was there, but I couldn't actually grab it. And it's not because I wasn't working hard enough or that I wasn't wanting it enough. It was purely because I didn't have the strategies and the stuff that I needed to know to reach my potential. And it's such a mind game when you constantly feeling like you're never living up to your potential, but you don't know what's stopping you. And I've heard that a lot of women in my case have felt like that, just never quite getting there. And so we're always trying to prove that we're enough and we're doing more work than the average person has to, but we're still not quite getting to that point. I didn't realize how much of that related to what I struggle with and how ADHD works and how my brain works. So the development, especially in the last couple of years since being diagnosed, has been such a game changer, because I've actually learned, okay, that was why that wasn't working and why that was so hard. It's the simple stuff that a lot of people have misconception of ADHD. People think of hyperactive, like crazy, loud, spontaneous, everything. And yes, I definitely have all those things, but it is that surface level. There is like a whole iceberg underneath. where it's like difficulty starting tasks, hyper focusing on something so much that you're holding your pee in for like 8 hours plus and you haven't drank any water or ate any food. It's just forgetting routines, forgetting dates, feeling overwhelmed by absolutely everything, feeling like you could start a new business but can't even put your washing away. It's a constant chaos and just it's so hard to navigate. So what I've found that's been really difficult is I like to focus on one thing. And when I mean focus, it's not very much. It's very hard for me to focus. But when I do, it's normally a hyperfixation. So that means every other area of my life goes out the window, which creates trouble in itself. Last year, I was really, really focused on my business. My health went out the window. My mental health went out the window. A lot of my relationships were kind of ruined because I literally couldn't focus on anything else. And so being an entrepreneur and having to be the jack of all trades is extremely hard because I feel like it's very difficult to transition to each different thing that you have to do in a business. I would just want to do one. And that's all I want to do because transitioning and doing lots of different things is super difficult and overwhelming for someone with ADHD. So it's definitely been a challenge, but there's ways around it. And I've realized that my main thing is I can't rely on remembering things. I have to build an environment that remembers things for me. So a really big, I guess, thing that helps me is my partner. He is my executive function. He takes everything that I can't do and helps me channel my executive function. And he's amazing. But being medicated now has definitely helped everything in terms of business. Like it's just, you just can't trust motivation. We're so reliant on dopamine. And when you have things to do as a business owner, but you literally feel paralyzed, like you can't do them, that ends up stacking up to panic attacks, anxiety attacks. And yeah, it's definitely a complicated mental health that I don't think a lot of people really understand how deep it goes.
Yeah, I think you're so right in that last point, and which is why I think that these types of conversations are so important. Because I think ADHD as a word is everywhere now, but people who
Yes,
don't have ADHD actually have no understanding or idea of what that actually means or what it actually makes a struggle or how you feel on a day-to-day basis if you do have ADHD. It's just that word that's put out there. And as you said, it's that thing that we're like, oh yeah, they're just hyperactive. They just like have difficulty focusing, but it's so much more than that. And that's very much diminishing. I was about to say deminimizing. It's very much diminishing what it actually feels like to have ADHD and how you can actually work through that and manage it. So, yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And when it comes from like a health and fitness aspect, have you noticed that going to the gym, prioritizing your movement, that kind of stuff helps at all? And have you also recognized or noticed that your ADHD gives you any struggles in the health and fitness realm for yourself?
hmm it's a lifeline for me.
Mhm.
The gym, being active, it's a lifeline. Last year, when I focused really, really hard on my business, and I don't regret it, but I wasn't working out and moving my body as much, my mental health and all my ADHD traits got so much worse, so much worse. Really, for me, fitness and health and moving my body, it's a lifeline. Like, I notice how differently I show up day to day if I'm not working out regularly. So it's sort of as much as a must as my medication that I take, it's even more so. And the struggles with your fitness and health journey that a lot of women come to me for, like my clients, is the consistency, because we are all or nothing human beings. Consistency and ADHD, they don't go together. And so you have to realize that if you were to go all in, that you're going to burn out. And the biggest thing with ADHD is removing the resistance to do what you need to do. Even the slightest resistance can cause Well, for me personally, I don't want to speak for everyone. For me personally, the slightest resistance can cause me to completely shut, and it's called ADHD paralysis. It's where you're not moving and you're not doing anything, but you're wanting to actually move. I could be, at my computer doing work and I'm saying, okay, get up now, get dressed and go to the gym. And I just stand there and nothing happens. And I'm like, go now. And nothing happens. And so removing the resistance of, okay, if I haven't planned my gym session or if I haven't picked out my workout outfit or I haven't planned when I was going to go, all those little things really add up with ADHD. So once I kind of removed those resistances, it became a lot easier. And with going to the gym and showing up, having a plan already in place, which is easy for me because I'm a coach. But when you're a woman that doesn't know what to do, then the overwhelming feeling takes over and we go to that avoidant procrastination, ADHD paralysis. And I think the other thing that every ADHD person would suffer with would be burnout. I'm definitely guilty of this. I'm constantly going in and out of burnouts. And if someone with ADHD told me that they don't experience constant burnouts, I'd say that they're lying because, we are designed to be so intense. Our highs are high, our lows are low. Our motivation is like, I can do anything in the world, or it's, I can't do anything. I'm just going to lay in bed all day and rot and die here. There is no in between. And so when you are functioning so high, you can obviously only do that for a certain amount of time and then you burn out. And that's what a lot of women come to me with ADHD that struggle because they go really hard for 6 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, and then they burn out. And so having the consistency is extremely hard for like anyone really, but especially for ADHD, consistency is something that they just don't quite really go together. So you do have to take the expectation away of, doing absolutely everything that you can to just doing what feels the most realistic, which means the less resistance. So instead of, for me, saying I'm going to go 7 days a week if I've had a period where I'm feeling really stressed or unmotivated, that's a lot of resistance. That's a lot of pressure. So going, I'm just going to go twice this week already lowers the resistance for me personally, and what has helped with my other clients that have had ADHD as well. And then once we start doing it, then we can kind of grow it from there. Motivation it comes and goes like that with everyone, but especially with people like with ADHD. But really, the burnouts, no matter what you do, you're going to experience that as someone with ADHD. It's just trying to figure out how can we burn out just maybe a little bit for like a day or two instead of like a month or two. I feel like that's my main things that I do struggle with the health and fitness side. And then being very sensitive to textures and food. So I'm a little bit of a picky eater. But again, I hyper focus on food. So it can be quite easy for me because I eat the same thing every single day and I have for like a year. I don't get sick of it. And then one day I'll literally get the ick from it and I'll completely change direction.
Again. This food is done for me. No, that's so funny. I feel like this is a very complicated question. And if you can't give a full answer, I totally understand because I can imagine that it's so complicated. But from like a science, neurological aspect, what actually happens in an ADHD person's brain? Like what is going on that is different?
From my understanding, do you guys understand what executive function is? It's kind of just the thing where your brain will tell you to do something and then you do it. I heard this thing on a podcast once and it was a really, really good example of the difference. It was a neurotypical, so someone that doesn't have ADHD, their brain's kind of like being in a nice penthouse with a waiter and the servant comes in and goes, well, 2:00 lunch is here. Everything's prepped. It's time to go. And you go, okay, I have 15 minutes. I'm going to start doing that, blah, 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 blah. We don't have a waiter or a servant that comes in to tell us anything. So we're kind of just blindly going through life. Just say if that waiter or the servant was the only thing that helped you navigate life, we don't have that. It's kind of like a really aggressive, annoying neighbor that just screams at you from a distance and you can barely hear it. And it's like last minute too. Instead of like, you have something in 15 minutes, you should probably get ready now. It's like, you are supposed to be on that meeting right now. Right now, get up your lazy ass. Like, whoa, what's happening? Last night, I had a client call at 7:30 p.m. and in my head it was 8 o'clock. I had it on my calendar as 7:30. My assistant reminded me as 7:30, and in my head it was 8 o'clock. And how that happens, I have no idea. But I even looked at my calendar and it said 7:30. I said 8 o'clock. Like the attention to detail and to focusing, it's just not there. So I guess as someone that doesn't have it, it's 8 o'clock, but then the little maid comes in and goes, actually it's 7:30. I
Yeah.
don't know if that is an accurate
That's a great
representation.
analogy. I love that. That's a really easy way for people to understand how it
That's
feels.
the best I can do. My
Yeah.
boyfriend is a doctor and would probably be appalled at the way I explain that because he has explained
How it
many
works.
times, and I'm just going here with a random story. He's going to be like, what is
He's gonna message us and be like, please take that part out. It's
Yeah.
not correct at all.
embarrassing?
Let me voice over that.
I think that's a great way to understand. So I have another question, but I feel like I've been asking all the questions. Did you have something else to say?
Can I butt in before? It's still on
Yes.
the same wavelength, so then we'll
Mm.
move on. Is it
Yeah.
kind of like, you're not prepared, you're not thinking ahead. It's very much like in the moment. It's like the game where it's like the walls keep coming at you. I don't know what the game's actually called, but the walls keep coming at you and you literally have a millisecond to either duck or jump or whatever it is. But most of the time it's just like in your face, deal with it now. It's more of a like you're constantly reactive rather than being able to plan ahead because you don't have that waiter kind of guiding you and thinking ahead, preparing for what's next.
Yeah. Many people would relate to if it's not in front of me, I don't know. So it's like if I don't see it or if it's not right urgent, if it doesn't spike my dopamine, it's going in the back closet like I don't care about it. And you know what? It goes in the back closet, I forget about it, and then something bad happens because I'm forgetting about it. And, it's just crazy because it's either has to be the last minute. We also have time blindness, which is something that I didn't realize for my whole life that was even a thing. But if I go somewhere and the appointment is 15 minutes away, I leave with 5 minutes until my appointment. And it's not because I'm unorganized or anything. It's because I literally wait till the very last minute and I forget that it takes time to do things. So I know logically my appointment is a 15-minute drive, but that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to leave with 5 minutes to go and I'm going to be 20 minutes late to the appointment as I am to everything because I just think I can magically just like get there.
Yeah,
And
you're gonna teleport.
yeah,
Obviously.
my friend has asked if he had a superpower. I was like teleporting because I wouldn't be late because I'd go,
Yeah.
I need to go now and I'd do this.
Yeah, that would be so helpful.
Yeah, what was the question? I think I've rambled too much and forgotten.
It's fine.
That's
I'm a
literally
fellow
all we
rambler.
do here.
Yeah. Chev, do you remember your question?
I do. Yes. I would love to know, what would you say are the top things if you're not someone who has ADHD? For example, for myself, I have found that I've had to become a way more patient and empathetic person being with my partner and a way more understanding person in so many different ways that in previous relationships I've just never had to think about before. But it was only through actually like living with him, experiencing how he experiences things, that I could kind of learn that. But what are some tips or some things that you think people who don't have ADHD but who might have other people in their life that do can do to help those other people, or to help them to not feel so overwhelmed and stressed and actually feel more understood?
That's an amazing question. And I'm so blessed to have so many people in my life that truly understand me and don't get mad at me. One of my best friends had a birthday 2 weeks ago. I forgot. I forgot, and I went to breakfast with him and he was telling me about his birthday, and I went, when was your birthday? And he was like, 2 weeks ago. And I was like, what's the date today? And so he, I think, just understood. He was like, being like an ADHDer, we beat ourselves up so bad. So I think as someone, if I was to be friends with someone like myself, I would definitely help them understand that I wasn't mad, because we do all the beating up for ourselves, whether we forget things or we, kind of get a little bit too emotional about things. The biggest thing my partner helps me with is making sure that my feelings and what I'm thinking isn't crazy, because I think they're crazy and they probably are, but to someone with what I go through, my mood regulations, everything, it's very valid. We feel everything really intensely. We do things really intensely. And so that was definitely a shift my partner had to make, like yourself, Chev. But having that really big understanding of they actually can't help it. It's not laziness. It's not on purpose. And what I find that works really well is having someone like my partner or my friends that are my executive function, meaning they are the waiter that comes in. Okay, they're the little thing that comes in and goes, is your appointment at 8 or 7:30? And I'm like, 8. And he's like, do you want to check? And I'm like, probably. And I check and I'm like, oh, it is 7:30. So it's definitely not babying. And to probably many people, it sounds like that. But I think having that accountability and being your friends or your partner's executive function as much as you can helps so much. So just taking this decisions off their plate, creating a little bit of urgency, and helping them stay a little bit more organized so that they're not beating themselves up for a week. There's just systems in place that you can do. And I think my best advice would be to understand it as much as you can. Listen to podcasts. But my biggest tip would be to understand the main things that I guess can trigger you as a friend or in a relationship with someone with ADHD. And I think my partner, he's a very patient man. God bless him. I don't know how he does it. But I am very emotional and he's my rock. So most of the time I have to say, can you get more excited? I'm on top of the world.
Yeah, I'm pumped here. What is wrong with you?
You need to be up and dancing right now. And he's just like, oh my gosh, I'm just excited. And I'm like, you're not excited. This is excited. So I think having someone that can understand those levels, but also keep you at bay is really important, because if you have someone else in your life that's like this, it makes us so much worse. So as much as I'm like, why don't you get excited? I'm like, thank God you're stable, because otherwise my life.
Yeah, your household was just pure chaos all the time. No, I love that. I think it is so important. I honestly think that regardless of whether we're just talking about ADHD or not, I think it's actually something that everyone should do more often, is actually just learn and be more understanding of what other people have going on. Humans are just so quick to judge or to get angry or mad at something that they don't understand or is not done in the way that they do it. But if we could all just relax and ask questions and learn and actually want to understand other people, I think it would just make everything easier for everyone. We'd be living in a way happier world if everyone just asked questions and understood people more.
Yeah, absolutely. It literally just takes a check-in. Another thing I would definitely recommend is just actually doing a deeper check-in with them. Not just how was your day? How you feeling? As in, how are your anxiety levels? What's been playing on your mind for 2 weeks but you haven't done? Those sort of check-ins they're helpful.
Yeah, that's a great point actually, because it's kind of along that same lines as almost having your friends or your family or your partner as that waiter to, if you are checking in on them, but actually make sure that you're asking them questions that relate to their life or how they're feeling or things that they've got going on, rather than just the surface level.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime someone can be that waiter for me, it just it helps more than they know, because I don't have it.
Can I ask, Hannah, what do you do for yourself now that has helped you manage your ADHD and take off I guess, the mental load and also help give you those systems? Like, what are those systems that you have in place to help manage your ADHD and how you can actually be more productive and show up better for yourself, your business, and, the people around you as well?
I think my biggest shift has to be intentionally be more like less intense. So I often feel myself getting really wrapped up in something. And I've recently, in the last few years, stopped trying to change my life overnight. Because it's just a very big thing that you just want to, do everything at once and do everything and change things. And a massive thing that has helped me is to just pick one thing that feels almost too easy. Repeat that until it's automatic and then build it from there. Consistency compounds much faster than intensity, which is something I have realized. And once we are moving, as someone with ADHD, like that paralysis gets a hold of us. But once we start kind of moving, it's super easy fast. So trying not to do everything all at once and just doing one thing. My partner often goes, "What's just one thing you need to do?" And I'm like, "I can't pick one. I have a billion." And he's like, "Yes, I know. But what is one thing that you can do like right this second?" And I'm like, "Oh, I guess this." And guess what? I work for the next 5 hours completing all the other things that I need to do. So kind of stripping back I need to do everything all at once perfectly and, all this sort of stuff. It's like, okay, well, everything's going to be messy, but this one thing until that feels really automatic. And then I'm going to add on to it. So, kind of like I love habit stacking. I don't know if you girls have ever heard that, but because I have a very, very forgetful brain, habit stacking is amazing. So, the habit stacking, for people that don't know, is where you do an automatic thing, but then you do a habit on top of it to make sure that you like don't forget it. So if you were to brush your teeth, straight after brushing your teeth, you do your skincare. So of a morning, I have my breakfast, and straight after my breakfast, I take my medications. If I don't have my breakfast, guess what? I forget to take my medications. So habit stacking is a really awesome thing that I've found works really well for me. I have a treadmill under my desk. I get on my treadmill and then automatically I'm like in work mode. And that's great because it's like kicking my step goals and I'm working. So habit stacking for me has been really, really important and has made a really big difference, especially with business. Yeah, I feel like it just kind of what I talked about, creating that, like reducing that friction. How can I make these things that I need to do easier? I definitely don't rise with motivation. I kind of fall to convenience. And then from there, I work. So it's kind of like do less to then be able to do more without burning out.
Mm. It sounds like very similar to, I guess, like a lot of the stuff that we talk to with our clients, that whether they do have ADHD or not, how much your brain functions. Like, I think it matters even more so for an ADHD brain to actually function, but it's a lot of similarities of the overthinking, the overwhelm, the needing systems and structure and routine to take away the decision fatigue, to actually be able to go, when I do this, this then happens next, this happens next. So for people, instead of overthinking and, I guess arguing with themselves or negotiating with themselves, it's like, okay, this is how the plan goes and I follow the plan and I'll be okay. And it just takes away that kind of thought process and you just show up and you can actually get so much more done. Would you say it's very similar to what you would do coaching all of your clients in terms of like the system, the structure will set you up for success regardless of like a neurodivergent or neurotypical brain?
Absolutely. The goal isn't to have a perfect routine. And I think that's where a lot of the clients that come to me and people think that they need to do, just like how ADHD is so intense and we need to do everything all at once and perfectly. People often think like that with fitness and health. It's like, I need to walk 10K steps a day. I need to go to the gym 6 times a week. I need to do Pilates. I need to be doing this and this and this. And I'm like, my love, you're not even going to the gym twice at the moment. What makes you think that you can go from that to that? And so the goal isn't to have the perfect routine. The goal is to have a routine that you can keep coming back to. So a lot of my clients, I have to go, Josh, let's just bring it back down, because you have tried to do this many, many times by yourself. So we actually need to bring it all back so that you can actually stick with it. And they're like, oh, but I'm not doing enough. I'm like, you are. You're doing enough because you're doing more than you did last month or the month before, because you had to keep stopping. You know, so those things that definitely work for my ADHD with health and fitness, it's just a no-brainer for all my clients. Like, we're not very different. We just work in different ways, but the fundamentals and the basics, they work. They work. And so that's definitely something that I really focus on with my clients, and it's why they do get good results, because, hey, they can actually stick to it, because it's not all or nothing. And that's how they, you know, build the results. And, you know, discipline is useful, motivation is useful, but good systems make discipline easier, and they have to be achievable first.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like it's so nice to hear that it's very similar and the structures of the brain are similar. And it's also nice to hear that that support is also very, very important, and someone having the patience and understanding and awareness to actually help guide you at the same time as you learn yourself. But I also think it's crazy because I feel that human nature is the all or nothing mindset. And someone with ADHD, knowing that if I just follow suit with the systems, the structures, that's going to help me be more focused, be more productive, be more successful in the things that I want to pursue. But also knowing that you think fitness and eating healthy, nourishing your body and getting good sleep, managing your stress, all of that stuff is a lifeline for you. So you actually can be more clear and be more successful and productive in those systems that you do set for yourself as well. I love that. No, I appreciate that so much. We'd love to know from you, is there anything that you would love to say to our audience and what you would love them to understand, learn about ADHD fitness, about yourself, something you just feel like everyone really needs to hear this right fucking now?
Good one. I think I'm going to go into like the fitness and health space. A lot of people think that they need more information to start, but most people actually need less information and more implementation. And I think a lot of people get stuck on, I don't know everything, rather than just starting. And they make things harder than they need to be. Healthy habits, they don't have to be hard. You don't have to walk 10K steps a day. You can walk 5 or 7. And I think the starting and the shifting and doing things perfectly, that is actually what's stopping you from progressing and getting to where you need to be. Because a consistent routine isn't not missing a workout or eating perfectly all the time. It's how quickly you can get back on track if you do miss one. That's probably the advice that I would say.
I love that. The not more information, more implementation. That is such an easy way and such a beautiful like rhythm and flow. I think that's so, so cool. And that's my biggest takeaway of today. Yeah, so many ways to say it, but that is like the most catchy and the one that will stick and hit home for so many people. Absolutely.
Yeah, just
Yeah, just
shut up, show up, get
start.
shit done. I love that. I think what's awesome is that every single time that we speak to somebody that is also in the industry, it is always the same common denominators when it comes to people achieving their goals. And it all comes down to not setting yourself up to fail, in the sense of you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent and just keep going. We literally said in our last episode, it's the last man standing. As long as you keep going, you keep showing up for yourself, there's no reason that you won't be successful and you won't fail in any sense of the word as well. So I love that. We have honestly loved yapping with you, and we appreciate you so much jumping on this podcast and sharing your story and sharing your perspective as well, and helping us understand a little bit more about the neurodivergent brain, which I think is so beautiful. And it's such a pro, but it's, you know, there are cons to it, and understanding both perspectives as well. And thank you for sharing your wisdom about the health, fitness, and wellness space to be able to implement these certain things for girls to go out, continue to keep showing up for themselves and taking action as well. But is there anything else you'd love to leave us with, or shall we wrap it up today?
No, I think just For any girls listening, as we kind of talked about before, obviously there's the women that would be listening to your podcast are driven women that are open-minded. And I think my biggest thing that I'd want to say to them is be delusional. As we kind of touched on before, Brie, I didn't have a backup plan. I just backed myself. I had so many people telling me, what's your backup plan? What if this doesn't work? I don't understand what you do, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. You're always going to have those people. But if you are actually completely delusional, which I'm great at, then you have no choice to just do what you need to do. And so to anyone that feels like they're doubting themselves, I just say be delusional. Jump in, do it. Keep believing in yourself and you'll get to where you need to be. Just like you girls have done this podcast and all the amazing things that you girls have done, you know, there has to be some level of, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And so that would be my biggest and one of my favorite things about myself, that I do just jump in and I deal with it later.
I love that.
Yeah. Be Delulu and just be Delulu and take action. That's it. Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Honestly, I think this has been one of my favorite yaps, to be honest. I always love the educational ones where I can like learn something that I don't know that much about. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And yeah, I loved it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having
Where
me,
can
girls.
people find you?
On Instagram, TikTok, fohxibodi, so fohxibodi. The H is for henna. And yeah, just connect with me through there. I'm always up for a chat and for advice and for coaching. I'd love to connect with you girls. But yeah, thank you for having me so much. This has been lots of fun.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. And honestly, Hannah shares some amazing content to help you guys on your journey as well. So highly recommend dropping her a follow. She is so inspiring. One of those accounts that you don't want to unfollow because she is just there, always giving you that positive energy, that beautiful energy as well. So thank you so much for coming on. And we appreciate you guys being here, listening to another episode. And we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.